ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and in case you missed my last quick update video, this is not an episode of Wraith Online because I have elected to stop doing them for this season. I just don't have the motivation or willpower to continue, and I'm content with staying at Grandmaster. Although, if I feel so pressed, I might try for Demigod in the next season, depending on what I want out of this next season that is coming up that we don't know the details of yet. However, because of this, I've decided to bring back the White Lotus Dojo, and today we're going to be taking a look at Cassandra Carlton Cage. Now, she is quite the interesting character. Here's the thing with Cassie Cage, right? A lot of people kind of slagged her off for being just a clone of Sonya Blade and Johnny Cage. That's okay, it makes sense, she's the daughter of them both. However, in my personal opinion, she should have replaced both of these characters. The fact that we got 3 Cage characters, technically if you count Sonya, in one game is too much. But that's not exactly what we're here for. We're here to talk about all of her neat gimmicks and such. And that's going to include, of course, normals, strings, universal specials, and then whatever fun things we can cook up afterwards. The next character we're going to be looking at is Sonya afterwards, so I'm just going to go ahead and beat up on Hard-Ass Badass, because it's the Terminator thing. Gonna get these family affairs squared away. Sorry, a little bit tired. I'm going to record this, I'm going to go to bed, then I'm going to upload tomorrow. However, we're going to start with normals that don't go into anything. So that would be pokes, crouching attacks, maybe not crouching attacks. Does standing 3 go into stuff? Yeah, standing 3 goes into stuff. Glow burst thing. Sweep. Steel toe. I have no idea why I haven't set to Jurassic Park, but roll with me here for a minute. Okay, so we got that. I got frame data on. I'm gonna set her to sweep. There we go. So, straight punch is Cassie Cage's down poke. It's 8 frames, which is funny because she has a 7-frame standing jab, so she has kind of the same jab system as Scorpion. This is a little bit slower, but it hits as a mid. Glow burst. Oh, and before I forget, I'm gonna also set her to stand block and then to crouch block. There we go. On block, it's -4, so don't be throwing this out willy-nilly. Glow burst is a high sliding boot that's active for 9 frames and acts as a pretty good conversion. If I can do this. Come on. I'll just jump and punch that. There we go. So, like I said, high damage conversion, relatively speaking, because it's 50 damage. Hits high, so it's easy to land. It is 16 on hit, but if it's -6 if it's blocked, which means that this is punishable by Raijin, but not punishable by anybody else. So just barely safe. And then there's Sidekick, which is funny because this is Harlequin. 9 frame low, with about the same range as her poke. It's not going to outrange really, but it is what it is. And as far as low pokes go, it's -5, so nothing to write home about. Roundhouse. 12 frames, active for 3, does 70 damage. This is something you'd try to use to cap off combos, but because of how quickly it recovers, it doesn't actually really get you much of anything. Except for maybe that. Because some of your slower normals, some of your slower specials might not come out in time. Cutting sweep. It's a 12 frame sweep. Open before I forget. Roundhouse is +3, and sweep is -5. This is just a standard sweep, nothing to write home about. This doesn't have like extra hits or anything special. Steel toe is a pseudo sweep, hits fairly far, about this range, and knocks the opponent back as it is what it is, which is a down 4, but it's -7, so punishable by mostly pokes because of how low she goes. Dive bomb is her short hop attack off of her punch. It's 11 frames, takes 32 frames to recover, but she's down on the ground, so she can potentially avoid certain projectiles. Then there's combat kick, which is active for twice as long and travels a little bit further. This is like a pseudo dive kick, because she jumps up and then moves forward. It even recovers a little bit faster, but she's left standing, so you need to keep that in mind if you're going to throw out short hop attacks. Then we have these. Flip kick and nut punch. Flip kick is a flawless get up launcher or a wake up launcher, but not the best one because look at all the distance that she gets. I had to get Sonya to dash into this to land. I don't really get much in the way of combos here, except for maybe that? No, it looks like it doesn't connect, so it's very finicky as far as combos go. On wake up then, you're mostly going to be doing nut punch. Also short range, but it's a 10 frame mid and it gets you some distance. It resets the neutral. Nut punch is actually not a bad wake up at all. Before we continue, one quick thing about Cassie Cage is that, like Jackie Briggs and Sonya Blade, Cassie Cage has the least amount of health of any character in this game. She has 950 health, which is basically 95% of normal. So she is, it would take 19 of these to kill instead of 20, which could make all the difference, especially if you're fighting a character that packs a lot of damage over time. Cool. So keep that in mind. Sorry. Sword throw lasts quite a long time and knocks the opponent back a decent distance. This is really good for things like certain crushing blows that add damage over time, for you to milk the damage over time as long as possible. And then back throw is kind of similar. It lasts quite a while, and you might think that you're active for a while, but no, your hit advantage is only plus 14. So you don't get a lot in the way of things to do afterwards, but this is actually better for distance. Did she just say damn Tina? Weird. Anyways, look at the range that she has. 2 dashes to get in. Whereas with the forward throw...
Damn, Gina!
Oh, it's Gina. Nani? Anyway, whereas it's 1 dash to be basically in your opponent's face. So take it where you can. Next, we're going to take a look at her strings, which are going to be all of the ones that are the full versions. So instead of hooks and hammers, we'll be looking at assaulted, because then we can look at other things like the rushdown, shocker, marching orders, heavy hitter, one of the chamber. Okay, so Cassie has a lot of strings to work with, so let's see what we've got. Whip It Good ends with a pistol whip that is -3 on hit, but cancelable at the very least, so you can cancel into stuff to stay plus, but this is -3 on hit. I dread to think what it is on block. -8, so it's punishable. Also, I'm going to just reset this and have her block to auto now, so I can see that. Look at that. It's -8. That is rough. And then if we flawless block, no flawless blockable gap in there, so at least there's that, but still, ouch. Active Duty boots the opponent back, leaving her plus 40, allowing her to stay full screen, which in one variation is really good for her. And this does not have a crushing blow. Oh, I should also mention that her throws do not have crushing blows at all. None of her raw normals do outside of uppercuts, so she doesn't have a lot in the way of crushing blows there, but it's not anything to write home about. But yeah, Active Duty also has the benefit of leaving her -3 instead of -8 if she committed to this full string, which, if you do accidentally overcommit your -2, the jab is +1 though, so +1, she kind of takes her turn back and then she can do what she wants. That's neutral, so bam. -3 and this close. That's good to know. But I believe there's a flawless block gap in there. No flawless block gap. That's good. Then we have Hot Take. This starts low and is a meterless launcher, but you're generally only going to get the back 3 off after it. at least the damage is pretty decent. Look at that, almost 30% for 1 bar, and we're back to full screen. So if you happen to land this 18 frame low, then you're in business. And like some of her moves, this can be buffed to do slightly more damage. And even if we do it raw, it's still 26%. Not great for range, but or not great for damage, but not the worst in the world. Yeah, let's see if I can do something else. I'm sure I can. I'm sure I can land Nut Punch in there somehow. There it is. Yeah, you can get Nut Punch in certain situations, or Gun Drop. It's actually not a bad string. It's just 18 frames on startup, and minus 11 if it's just the pistol, and the flip is also minus 11, and 15 frames, so she's extremely punishable. Fortunately, there doesn't appear to be... Yeah. It's going to be tricky to kind of get this to work. But I don't think there's a flawless block gap in the backflip either. Yeah, no, it's still minus 11 all the same. And there is a crushing blow attached to it. However, the way that you get this crushing blow is if the opponent is stand blocking and not in block stun. So Cassie has a few overheads that she can use to kind of mix up the situation. So if she say blocks a jump in, then you delay it. Then you get a little extra damage, including more conversions, especially in the corner. But oop, that's kind of like an uppercut off of a low. Yeah, let's try this. You can get a standing 4 off, but looks like you can't get the gunshots after the standing 4. Maybe the nut kick. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that works. So there is things you can do, so it's not a terrible crushing blow, it's just hard to get because the problem is that you have to get your opponent to stand block and be scared of this low, which is probably not going to happen most of the time. Then we have Assaulted, which has a dial up in the end, which has to be done like this. But what's nice about this is that, let's say you get this. Then you can knock the opponent back to get that kind of damage. Almost the same amount of damage without costing meter and bringing them a little bit closer, but still keeping your distance. However, minus 3 with all of that distance as well, so that's really good. But if you mess up, it's minus 1, so just keep in mind you're minus 3 and you get some pushback. So this is actually not a bad string to try and catch an opponent off guard with, and just keep them back. And then there's the rush down, which has an overhead in the middle. And one last thing before I forget. Okay, no flawless block gap there. So the rush down knocks opponents down and leaves Cassie at plus 21. So she can dash in and stay super close, or be within throw range. This can be pretty scary, especially if you threaten the opponent with the overhead, and then you do this, and then you potentially go for the crushing blow if you keep them scared of this. However, minus 5 on block, so she loses her turn. Keeping it classy comes off of this advancing mid. Not quite start of the round, at least not on the female characters, but decent reach. This knocks the opponent back and does reasonable damage. However, this has a crushing blow, wherein if only the final hit of the combo hits, which it's almost full screen, so you could be at full screen, let's say zoning in them out, and then you move in, and I catch it with this, for a crushing blow that does 24% damage and knocks them back full screen. Not that bad, actually. Then we have Shocker. Oh, but before I forget, -3 with all of that pushback, but there's a flawless block gap in there. And possibly a gap? I don't think there's a gap in there, because if you can't flawless block, there isn't exactly a gap, but it's one of those moves that you need to be careful throwing out. But if you get the full thing, boop, breaketh thine ribs. Shocker is another one of those moves that knocks the opponent back, and is the least damaging of these, but has a pretty neat crushing blow if it's a counter or a punish. Does the same thing, leaves her plus 16, and does reasonable damage. However, here's the thing. High. Also 0 on block, but is flawless. So, the spinning back fist is a 10 frame high. The shock leaves her at +1 at this range. So you're not going to be getting your turn back anytime soon. But since this is a high, and the shock is 23 frames, if I take control of Sonya, and just have her do this, have her do this, just like that, if I anticipate this, I get a crushing blow, potentially. I'll have to set it to just player 1, though. Okay, I won't get a crushing blow, but I'll be able to get her back. And supposing that I'm like blocking, and then I throw in a few jabs every once in a while, and Cassie's decided she's had enough and is going to try for a crushing blow, well, get that shit out of here. But you gotta be careful. If you mistime it, you're gonna eat that crushing blow. So you can punish it potentially, but just be wary that you could still get clocked. I also gotta switch it back to Cassie. There we go. However, I need to see if there's a flawless block gap. I don't see that. Okay, it didn't. For a split second I thought it did, but it is not. Marching orders is a basic kick string that knocks back, can be canceled into bullets. You don't really get anything out of it afterwards, though. So if you just do this, you're just knocking it back for one of Cassie's classic gimmicks. Heavy hitter comes off of this relatively slow low. Also, marching orders. 0 on block, but it has a 22 frame high. No, it's a mid. So it's like Scarlet. It looks like a high, but it's actually a mid. No flawless block gap in there, though, and it's completely safe. Heavy hitter, though, comes off of this low and sends the opponent back. You're not getting anything out of it outside of just distance, and if they block it, the low is -2. Castling partway through leaves it at -3. And there's a huge gap in there that I suspect is flawless blockable. Yeah, flawless blockable, turning it from +3 to -7. And here's the thing. It's a mid, right? However, I suspect if I were to actually make this work. Yeah, so if I were to make this work, I can poke her out of it. Easy. Or slip underneath if, like, my reads are godlike with this. What is her fastest? Does she have counters? Oh, she does have counters. So, let's suppose you also have a parry. Let's say you have this parry, which starts up in 7 frames.
End of the line.
That's what you get for trying that string randomly. Punish it with an uppercut. Punish it with a standing jab. Punish it with your combo starter. See where this is going? If you see Cassie go for the string too often, just do what you can to stop it. It may be a mid, but if you fuck up, the worst you eat is 70 damage, and at worst for them, you eat, they eat more damage. Even if it's just a simple uppercut punish. Even if it's just a simple uppercut beat to them, they eat double the damage. Or they could potentially eat a crushing blow. Or, in some cases, they eat a parry.
End of the line.
Which in this case, look at that. That's her 20%. Note you can't throw or do certain slower special attacks. Like the back 4-2 for her is 17 frames, but I'm willing to bet that an energy ring will catch. Yeah, an energy ring will catch, but it'll be pretty slow. So it'll be threading the needle a little bit. So the general rule of thumb is that if you have a 10 frame or faster attack, catch, oh, that was 14. So maybe it's 15. Wait. I was looking at the wrong frame data. Okay, so it's 11 frames. The general rule of thumb is that if it's 10 frames or less, you're gonna catch her out of this. Like a low poke. Or an uppercut. Look at that. We traded and it was beneficial for me. Or potentially a combo. So this string is extremely punishable, but most Cassies are not stupid enough to throw this out willy-nilly. But supposing that they are, you now know that you can catch her in the middle of that gap and make her eat her lunch money. That's not a phrase, but we're gonna roll with it. And finally, we have One of the Chamber. Comes off of this really nice mid, 9 frames, really fast, a really good punish tool that kind of restands the situation, that has an overhead in the middle. It's a fast overhead too, 15 frames. So, as far as I know, Cassie doesn't have any true low attacks that she can use as a mix-up, thank God. But this overhead, like most overheads admittedly, have caught me more times than I can count. And then I get hit with the bullet in order for her to look cool and knock me down. However, -5. Overhead is also -5. And if it's flawless block, also -5. But here's the fun part. Remember earlier, watch this. See that? Slipped underneath the bullet with a duck, and that was actually supposed to be an uppercut punish, but you get the idea. Slip under the bullet afterwards if she decides to commit, and punish her for it. Now let's talk about special moves, because this is where things are going to get fun. And go, and there we go. These are all of her universals. Yeah, these are all of her universals, and we'll have to do tournament variations, which I don't think I've built any. Dual wielding. Standard projectile, but actually quite slow at 23 frames. But the benefit is that this breaks armor. This breaks armor and can break through reflects too, because it's technically 2 projectiles fired at the same time. So a Nightwolf, for instance, can't reflect it. Jade won't be able to reflect it if she badly times her variation 3's projectile reflect. So this is one of those projectiles that you have to be wary of. And if an opponent tries to armor through it, it might not work out that well for them. Another thing that she can do, of course, is amplify, which turns it into 4 shots and keeps them a blast in and gives her all of this distance. So, as you saw, right there, I got all of this. But here's the thing. If I hold it until it turns green, I now have green pistols. What's the deal? This adds 10 damage to any pistol attack, turning it to 92.5. And if they're fully charged and you let it rip, you get a 25% damage and crushing blow. And here's the thing. Even if I have easy crushing blows off, see, they're on for player 2 now, and I put it back, I should get a crushing blow, unless I misread this, when fully charged and held for the maximum duration. So really what that means is that it has to be held for the maximum duration, and then because it's fully charged after that, and if you hold it for the maximum duration, bada bam. It takes about 2 seconds, but if your opponent lets you do this, they deserve the 25% damage. However, the key to the charge is just to charge it up. I wonder what's... Yeah. I'm trying to find, like... There it is. So it fully charges at about 100 frames, which is 1.6 seconds, I think, off the top of my head. And what this does is allows Cassie to supercharge her bullets. So let's suppose that we have this, and we do the hot take crushing blow. Now it's doing more damage, and that also applies to things like her throw. Which, yes, it's only 10 more damage for the throw, so it's not initially worth it. But when it is worth it, is that, for some reason, it lasts for the duration of the amplified version of this attack. So if I just do this... Look at that, I got 27% damage off of a jump-in because I had the pistols charged. Or, if I didn't have the charge-in, that's 24% in all of this distance. So it's actually not a bad buff. And, I mean, 10 extra damage doesn't seem like much, but hey, I'll take any extra damage if it means more damage. Then there's Ball Buster. This is the Nut Punch. Recently, this was made to be able to be parried by low attacks, and it leaves Cassie neutral, and it restands the opponent, which is important because that means no breakaway. If she lands 3 of these, is it 3 of these or 3 amplifies? 3rd amplified. So if she amplifies this 3 times, we'll pretend that was the 3rd one. She gets this crushing blow. That on males is a hell of a lot more brutal than on ladies. There should have been a little more stuff there. But as you can see, I got damage over time now. Although, I wonder... Oh, her pistol charge doesn't go away in cinematics? That's actually not bad at all. Anyways, as I was saying, minus 22 on block. So, and it can't be amplified. AKA, super freaking punishable. And at close range, minus 12 for the guns. And for flawless block, still minus 22. And minus 7 even at this range. So flawless blocks can be pretty nasty for Cassie. And her final universal attack, upload kick. This is a high, and it's not exactly safe on block, but it's a very good get out of jail card. If the opponent doesn't block it and realize they have almost a full half second to punish you for it. But that's where the amplify comes in. It's an overhead drop. And while it's minus 4, she made herself safe. And even though there is still the potential to punish, it's very tricky if she decides to amplify it. As you saw there, I got a trade out of it. So, it's tricky, but it can be done. Time to move on to tournament variations. Starting with number 1, Digital Soul. God, do we have to talk about this? We sure do. Alright, first let's start with Air Bullet Barrage. An aerial anti-projectile method of attack. Or anti-air, should I say. Jump, and she catches you and knocks you back to Earth at full screen. And if she does this and amplifies, it becomes a mid. Which doesn't quite catch at full screen unless it's on its own, but is still a pretty nasty trick, especially off of a short hop. There it is. It's not the best ability out there, but it at least has a use. And of course, because this is a pistol-based ability, Air Bullet Barrage is affected by the glow. Next we have Kneecapping, which is fantastic. She ducks down, fires a mid. This is not a low projectile, this is a straight up mid. So you can, in theory, jump this and stand block it and then just move forward. But here's the problem. Look at all of the space she covers with this. Even if you jumped it, you're gonna get hit by the other two bullets, like this. See that? And now you're right in front of Cassie Cage, which is also a really bad spot for you to be in. For the main reason being, you're gonna get thrown. You could get mixed. It's Mamma mia. And of course, just generally getting hurt. But okay, if it wasn't a crushing blow, which it's not supposed to be. You can get combos this way, but usually I just go for the uppercut. Personally, if I ever have to do this, because it's reliable, they could have broken away, and it's just a good time. Because Cassie does not have a breakaway in this variation, or an armor pierce. And then we have one of the worst abilities in the game. Flipping out. Look at that. Yes, I hit Mom, but I don't get anything out of it. I'm this close, and I am plus. Okay. Now what about far? Same basic deal, but I have a little more frame data to work with. But I still don't get a combo. And if I do close, I lose some of that. But here's the thing. If I misspace this thing, which is pretty easy to do, look at that. I'm recovering. Both of the bullets completely missed. And here's the thing. Because she fires backwards first, or forward first and backwards second, she doesn't get anything out of doing the forward version. Because if she were to do this, it's just not that good. And remember, and did you see how long it took to start up? That was 34 frames. If I were to do it from about here, or let's say about here, I eat damage. I'm going to eat damage for going for this. It's just straight up awful. It's bad. It's a really bad ability. One of the worst in the game, in fact. However, with two mediocre abilities and a really good ability, this was, I guess, what NetherRealm tried to do to balance Digital Soldier. But, minus 25 there. Minus 9. But here's the thing. If I cancel this out of a jab, it's gonna miss. If I do it far, minus 3, and that was supposed to be far. And that didn't really work out. See, that's me doing it normally, and I gave up my turn. Flipping out is awful, Bullet Barrage is situational at best, and Kneecapping is great. If you're playing Digital Soldier, you're playing to zone, and you're playing for Kneecapping. Time to move on to the next variation. Yas, Queen! Issue, to say the least. Onwards! Shoulder Charge and BLB 118 Energy Burst. We'll start with shoulder charge because it's the one slot ability is up here. It's a 70 damage mid that can be amplified to be an ender. Nothing to write home about. But you can easily see where this could be good for damage. 1 bar, 30%, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. This has a crushing blow, but it's pretty bad because your opponent has to block late. You're missing out on 33% damage because of that. And you might think, oh, well, what about flawless blocks? Well, if they get it right, I'm minus 16, and I can't amplify. And that seems to be the case there. So let's suppose that, again, if they try to flawless block it, which I'm not totally sure how that's going to work unless it's on whiff. No, it doesn't even come out on a whiff, so I don't understand how you would block late on that. Unless it also counts for if the opponent blocks late on the first one, but it's generally not a great crushing blow. I wouldn't try and fish for that. I just fish for the easy damage and the brutality that's attached to it. BLB 118 Energy Burst, or I guess Drone Burst, is a quick mid which can combo off of most things and leaves the opponent at plus 10. However, if I amplify, I'm plus 19 and have just enough time to potentially squeeze out a potential attack. However, if I do this, I could get a roundhouse, but that's better than I anticipated. So it's generally your combo extender on the ground. Getting 31.5% damage, or if you're actually pretty good with your timing, oh wait, get your ball buster to kind of reset the situation. So this would be a variation more closer to what I like, because at least all of the variation things have something in use. High damage ender, which can reset the neutral, to a combo extender. So this would be more if you like combos and if you like to be up close and personal with Cassie Cage. Now let's talk about variation 3, Soup's OD. Alright, BLB 118 Energy Bounce has multiple different ranges and allows Cassie to kind of zone with a low projectile. This takes a while to hit the ground, but once it hits the ground, it causes a low. So you're zoning with your guns, you predict with the bomb, you catch them, that kind of thing. This can't be amplified, but it is pretty decent for catching opponents off guard. And it's not a terrible projectile either, it's just kind of slow. Flying Glow Kick. This is where it's at. This is an 80 frame high ender that on counter or punish, or if it breaks armor, yes, Soup's OD is the only variation that has an armor break, does crushing blow damage. Then there's BLB 118 Escape and Advance. This move has had a bit of a complicated history. It used to be free when it was not in a tournament variation. Then when it was in a tournament variation, they made it cost defensive meter, which was bad. And then they made it free again in Aftermath, which is very, very strange. But, like I said before, this attack right here breaks armor. But before we get too caught up, minus 23 on block even at this range. Of course, if the opponent's scared enough of this that they let that hit them, it could be a problem for them. Flying glow kick is minus 8, so theoretically punishable, but at this range, it would be hard to find an 8-frame attack that reaches this far. And of course, I'm minus 8 there, but I can use this to escape, to get out of the way. Good luck trying to punish me in 8 frames if I do this, you know what I mean? But if an opponent anticipates this, like let's pretend that I did that and then I backed up. Well, I get clocked by projectiles. So, oh wait, how about this? On energy rings. See, that was a punish for doing that. But if I do that, I also get knocked down. So the opponent can be ready for it, but it's one of those things that you need to be absolutely sure that your opponent's not going to be able to punish, whether it's because they have a slower projectile, or they don't have a projectile, or what have you. Minus 18 on block, by the way, if this is flawless blocked. The flying glow kick, so be extremely careful. Okay, now let's talk about one of the best things about this variation, at least for me. And that is actually connected to the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is Fatal Blow. First, just got to make sure that this works. Okay, maybe not right away. How about after an uppercut? There we go. Oh yeah, easy peasy lemon squeezy. And like I said, this can get a double crushing blow for 42%. Not bad. And of course it always breaks armor, so even if you already used the crushing blow, you get 26%, which is less than an uppercut, yes, because that's what you used to do. Just do the uppercut because that's the most amount of damage you're going to see. Yes, it's less damage, but it's by a small fraction, and look at all this range that you get. And they don't have defensive meter anymore, so you can zone them out and keep them on their toes, and then if you do get in, well, they're in some serious trouble. But we need to talk about Cassie Cage's Fatal Blow, because this has been through a lot of changes too. It is, quite simply, one of the, if not the slowest, non-charged Fatal Blows in the game. It's 32 frames, and it is an overhead. But with different distances. That's close. Here's mid, and here's fall. Land this Fatal Blow as an overhead, and you're going to be treated to some decent damage. And more importantly, pretty decent Oki. But here's the thing. When this, way back before Aftermath, I say way back like that was a long time ago, this used to be 45 frames in the air. Now it's the same frame data as if it were on the ground. But yeah, back in the day it used to be 45 frames in the air. So you could open a can of Coke, take a sip, and then still punish this thing. It's ridiculous. But there's another neat trick. Remember the glow kick? This got a new trick. This can now be canceled into Fatal Blow. With 21 frames. It shaves down the startup by a lot because Cassie's already grabbing the drum. And look at that, 37% for breaking away from that. What if they break away from this then? Theoretically, if this lands, which I think it might be better done in the corner, just so that I don't have to fiddle around too much. If this lands as an armor break, the damage you're going to get is astronomical. Look at that. 54% on most characters. 540. And And you might have actually, if you've actually seen my most recent version of my combo videos, I was able to get it to break 580 just due to some clever tricks and having Sonya break away when I want to. But the fact that this breaks armor and can potentially catch opponents with a fatal blow, let's say. Let's even delay this a little bit, just so that I can actually catch up with this. Or catch up with this. Look at that. Off of the string. That did 537. Let's put our guns away. Charge it. Oh, didn't charge. There we go. And you're already breaking 543. You're knocking on 550 if you do this. That is insanity. And that is if they delay it even a little bit. So that's why I really like Soup's OD. And personally, if you want to play a Cassie and want really good damage and just overall reliability, yeah, this kind of sucks as far as projectile, but I mean, you still have a reliable escape, you have really good zoning, you have your close-up shenanigans, and of course, you have a way to break armor and make the opponent eat their words for it. This is probably, this went from being one of Cassie's worst variations to being one of her best. Although Cassie has, all of her variations are actually pretty solid, so overall, I would play Digital Soldier if you want zoning, Yas Queen if you want to be up close and personal and keep the opponent grounded to prevent breakaways. And if you don't mind the risk of breakaways because of this thing, and want fatal blow combos and other nasty things, then you go to Soup's OD. Hopefully this video has been informative. Don't forget to be awesome, and I'll see you guys on the other side.